to channel. What is up, Alien Army? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore. And on this channel, we discuss everything out of this world. So today's topic we are going to be talking about on this channel, how to channel, or at least ways that I am going to describe how I channel. This might resonate with you, it might not. This video might not be for everyone, remember?
Every motherfucker is different, everyone is an individual.
My methods might work for you or they might not. You might know how to channel and you might see this video and then pick up a few other things that perhaps you didn't realize you were channeling, but the video might click in your mind that, oh yes, so when I was doing that, that was me channeling. So that's just the purpose of this video, and I am going to get started now by saying, number one, you have to be open to it. This is not going to be something that the logical monkey mind, conscious mind, is going to understand. This is pure just intuition. It's not anything that you are logically going to be able to compute. For me, channeling, my number one thing is claircognizance. Okay, I just receive messages and it's coming through as claircognizance as like a voice or like a thought process. So you might think that that is part of conscious mind awareness, but it purely isn't. It's just that's the way that it easiest computes to me. So it's like my conscious mind is the translator, is the channel, is the conduit betwixt the universal and the physical consciousness, where it's relaying the message in the way that I easily understand it. So that is what channeling is. Now for me, when I channel, a lot of times I will just channel my higher self. So however you want to resonate with that, you know, your third eye consciousness, God consciousness, source, the all universe, whatever you resonate with, that is what I just refer to as my higher self, the one that is tuned into the universe always, as am I, but it's like a pure unadulterated type of highway going on. There ain't no traffic on the highway, it's just always tapped into universe, right? So sometimes if someone is operating in the ego mind or the conscious mind, then they still can channel, but it's going to be blocked because there might be traffic on the highway and shit like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I channel, for me, it just comes through as a voice, but it's like, because I'm strong in claircognizance, probably more than the other clairs, what happens is that I am seeing it and I'm processing it in words. Now, you can channel and process things on an emotional level as well, which is what clairsentience is. I have that gift as well. So there are different ways to channel. Don't look at it like if someone is claircognizance, that's channeling, and someone who's utilizing clairsentience isn't. There's all different types of ways to channel. There's also clairvoyance. So those are my big three if we want to get down to it: claircognizance, clairsentience, clairvoyance. And clairvoyance is simply channeling, but you are seeing things in a picture, right? You're seeing a picture in your mind, whereas clairsentience would be you just get a feeling in your mind, and claircognizance is you just get a thought in your mind. So for me, my strongest psychic sense is claircognizance. I have Uranus dominant, so that shouldn't be a fucking shock. Either which way, it might be different for you. So if you are someone who even has like if you smell something, I forget what it's called offhand, but that's also a psychic sense. That is also channeling, only you are receiving messages by your sense of smell. So any which way that the channeled message comes through, it might be different. At some points, for me too, it can be claircognizance, or it can be clairsentience, or it can be clairvoyance. So that is just the channeled message, is when something is going to come through to you and you are going to experience an emotion, or you're going to smell a smell, or you're going to experience a thought, right? All of that is just when you're tapped in the moment, and you're not necessarily expecting it. You're not expecting that message to be received, and you're not waiting for a message. A lot of times when I channel, and I channel channel legit probably like all day long, and it's just boom, claircognizance, claircognizance, claircognizance. Like it just, claircognizance just comes through a lot. Like I want to be honest, I don't think I'm ever not channeling, okay? Like it's just, that's where I am now. Was I always like this? No, but I always knew that there were psychic senses that I had, but it's just when channeling, it's when a message just comes through from elsewhere and you know that it's correct, but there is nothing in front of you that is suggesting that what the message you just received is correct, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying that you can't get a vibe about someone that you're, you know, you just like, and this has happened to me a lot, like I'll meet someone and I'll immediately, boom, I'll receive some channeled information about them, and there's nothing that is presenting from that individual's person, from their physical vessel, that what I just received through a channeled contact, there might not be anything going on with them physically that is portraying what I just channeled. So let's say I meet somebody, and this is just an offhand example, right? This is just light example, okay? But I have received deep messages about motherfuckers I just met, and I'm like, ooh. So I mean, if you get something like that, don't think you're crazy, even if it's like a deep ass message about someone that you meet someone and then boom, you receive a channeled message and you're like, what the fuck? And it really, they're not presenting themselves in that way, but you just know, you are on motherfucking point, okay?
Don't be thinking you're crazy now.
So this is why I want to reiterate that someone, let's say I meet someone and they, you know, I shake their hand, hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. And then I immediately, as I see them, I get a channeled message saying their favorite food is pizza. Light example, okay? Light example, but I'm sure you know what the fuck I'm talking about, and you'll just know something about someone. So I meet them, they're not eating pizza, they don't have pizza on their t-shirt, they're not, you know, holding a fucking billboard saying I love pizza, they're not working at a pizza shop.
That's probably a really bad example because of fucking Pizzagate, but whatever.
It is what it is. I guess that was stated for a fucking reason. Maybe you, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, okay? Maybe there's a pizza fucking lover and you picked up on it and you're like, woo, and that was your fucking message. You know, if you know what I'm talking about, you fucking know. But either which way, and when I'm talking right now, the light example, I literally mean the food. I don't mean any other type of pizza, okay? So let's say you receive a message like that, and this motherfucker is not working a pizza shop, he's not wearing a pizza t-shirt, like he's just saying, hi, nice to meet you, whatever, and you're just like, oh, his favorite food is pizza. Okay, cool, no problem there, right? That is what I mean by a channeled message, because you'll just know it about them, but there'll be nothing on their physical vessel or going on around you that would indicate anything having to do with the message you just received. So however which way you receive the message, whether it's a thought, whether it's a feeling, whether you literally start tasting like pizza in your mouth, like fucking, you know, marinara sauce, whatever the fuck it is, right? You are aware that that was a channeled message, because it's not going to be something that you were necessarily looking for in that moment, and it's not going to be something that you necessarily saw going on in that moment. So that is the first thing that I wanted to mention in regards to that. The second thing, now, if you have, let's say you want to ask a question, if you want to receive an ethereal answer to a question that you might have, sometimes it'll come through, like for me, if you ask a question in your mind and then, you know, you might get an answer in a song, or you might get an answer in someone calling you, or you might get an answer in what is going on TV in front of you, or something like that. You might receive an answer in the moment in terms of symbolism. That is not exactly channeling, but I figured I'd throw it in there because it kind of links up to what I'm about to say about if you ask a question of the ethers, because you, and this is the channeling part, you ask a question and then let's say a particular song just starts playing on the radio right after you ask that question, like immediate. That is not channeling. That is something in the universe that was presented to you, and then what you get, either by your thought process, a thought comes up, by your emotions, you feel a certain way, or let's say you have a vision as that song begins to play, that is channeling. But it was answered in a method for you to receive the channeled information so that it would click with you right away. So that's why a lot of times with signs and symbols and synchronicities, synchronicities, that is not channeling. But if you ask a question and you are answered in the way in which I just mentioned, how you interpret that thing that might seem innocuous and not having anything to do with anything, the channel part is that you know that that was the answer to your question, if that makes sense. So you have to be open to it. I'm going to say this, number one, I channel all day, every day, okay? I literally, I'm not channeling, okay? Like, and sometimes they'll be more potent than others, but it's just, that's where I am now, just because I personally am very open to it, and I've been really into developing my psychic senses for a good number of years now. So when you're channeling something, let's say you are utilizing a deck of tarot cards, you are not channeling the card. You are channeling the energy that you are getting when the card is presented to you. Because for me personally, when I'm reading tarot, yes, I am channeling information, but sometimes when I am reading tarot, I'll just receive messages without even looking at a card, and that is something that I will pick up a card to then clarify and see which way the channel wants to take it, like what I am supposed to take from that channeled message, which direction we want to go. So we can think of that as well. Also, I channel planets, and I'm just talking about me, you know, I'm sure you have your own experiences, but I'm just giving a few examples of channeling as, you know, conveyed to me. So it can happen just a multitude of different ways. So also with astrology, I do channel the planets, because sometimes I will see a planet and then, or I'll hear the name of a planet, or I'll see the name of a planet, and then boom, as soon as I see that, a message will just come in. That's how I know that I am channeling that particular planet. For me, planets are, when I read tarot, it's strictly claircognizance. I don't really feel any emotion or like anything, or I'll see a picture. That's just for me personally. For you, it might be different. So for different areas of esotericism and occult knowledge, you might channel differently. So when I'm doing cards, it's either clairvoyant or it's claircognizance. When I'm channeling astrology, it will be more clairsentience and sometimes clairvoyance and claircognizance, right? So it depends on the area too. So for me, when I'm channeling a particular planet in astrology, or I'm looking at a birth chart, it's more clairsentience, like I get the feeling of it, and then claircognizance or clairvoyance will kick in, right? So that is also channeling. So in different areas, you might just channel differently using a different psychic sense, but it's still the same thing. It's you're receiving a message that is coming from beyond the 3D realm and what exactly is in front of you. So for me, I always listen to fucking music. I mean, I really like, and you see probably in some of my videos,
not always, I just
you probably see in some of my videos I have fucking headphones on, especially when I'm doing card readings. So with card readings, especially the music, it helps, because I like to have a million things going on at once. So for me personally, music, headphones on, music helps me channel. Okay, I've
Mercury in the 3rd house. I'm gonna announce it again, as I always do.
But I just like to have a lot of things going on, because that's what stimulates my mind to pick up the message more clear. Because if we want to even look at channeling planets and placements, I would say that no matter where your Mercury is placed, you want to look at Mercury for the ways that channeling would pertain to you, as well as, of course, Zaddy, Lord Uranus, because he is really the gateway to the ethers. Okay, so these are more intellectually based, but Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and Uranus is really the planet of channeling, because that's how you're tapping into the universal consciousness. No matter what branch of the clairs you are utilizing in that moment, it's just Uranus, like he's intellectual, yes he is, but Uranus still can deliver a message in your chart. You want to see how you channel, like in what way is comfortable for you, by looking at Uranus, also looking at
Uranus. Oh gosh.
And looking at Mercury, right? Because they're intellectually based, and Mercury, because he is like the baby brother of Uranus, you also want to take that into consideration, because this is how you're interpreting the information that you channel. So if you look as well at your 3rd house, you can also find good indicators of, you know, channeling, things like that. So for me personally, just because I do have a very air influenced with my 3rd house and Mercury, it's very air. That's why for me personally, claircognizance comes in the strongest, because it is that thought, it is that written word or spoken word, right? So for you, it might be different. If you have a more like earth grounded Mercury, then your channeling might come through differently, okay, which your strongest channeling sense is. So also, you know, for everyone it's different, but I'm giving you examples of me.
Obviously, because it's my channel. Get it? Wink.
For me, when I channel, if I am channeling, let's say I'm channeling a deity or, you know, an angel, or I'm channeling a being, someone that was maybe once in a physical vessel or something like that, I will know it's them because they introduce themselves, I guess you could say. And again, for me, that will come in through claircognizance. Like when I was channeling Aleister Crowley, he came through, it was just Aleister Crowley, he's here, you know what I mean? Like it's like that. When I was channeling Sobek, that's what happened, right? He first introduced himself as the Lizard King. Like they'll identify themselves in a way that I interpret as a thought, because claircognizance is just my strongest sense when I channel. So immediately, like I am just gonna default claircognizance. So when I channel, it just comes through, they identify themselves. That's how, you know, sometimes I'll see them or whatever. A lot of times, pretty much only for the astrological planets, I'll feel their energy. With deities and other like ascended masters and angels, I don't have clairsentience for them, because for me, and obviously do what resonates with you, but I prefer to remain neutral. I would rather not, and this is just my set point, I would rather it be neutral rather than me feeling the energy of another sentient type of consciousness there. With planets, it's like, okay, I don't really mind feeling their energy because they're not associated with technically like a persona, but especially if it is someone that has walked in a physical vessel on the earth, or they are associated with like a big name type of character. Like when I was channeling Lucifer, it was not clairsentience, right? It was just claircognizance. Like I was getting the thoughts and the words and things like that. I would recommend maybe having that down, like if you prefer to channel a certain way, especially if it is with like a deity or someone of that caliber, that they have their own persona. Just for me, I don't want to feel anyone else's, you know, I don't want to feel an emotion if it's associated with someone else. That's just me, because it's best left neutral in my opinion, because it works out best for both parties. I mean, if you want to be clairsentience, you know, having a motherfucker have you feel a certain way when you're tapping in on their energy, maybe you like that. Me, I don't like that. And the beings that present themselves to me, they know that, so they're not going to present themselves in that way, because it's going to be a mismatch. Because I already have that wall up. Like I'm open to claircognizance, but I am not open to the clairsentience. You see what I'm saying? I'm open to the clairvoyance, but I don't want to get an emotional attachment with another being like that, because for me, it's going to take away the neutrality of the situation, and then the messages might get skewed up. That's just for me personally. So you might prefer to utilize clairsentience, and then you would optimize that by doing what you do. Like you intend that you want to have some clairsentience with whoever it is or whatever it is, right? It's just, you know, me, I compute best when it's just from a neutral playing field. Also with channeling, how to tell the difference if it's your own mind or if it is another sentient being that's relaying you the message. Like how can you tell if it's not just a fucking bullshit thought running rampant in your ego mind? It's gonna sound very cliche, but you're gonna know. You're gonna know that the energy is not coming from you. Like it's you, because essentially even the other beings that you're channeling, they all are a part of you, as everything is one, everyone is all connected. But you're gonna know that it's in higher octave energy, because whenever you're channeling anyone, even if it's someone who used to reside in a physical vessel, such as Aleister Crowley, because they have transcended the human vehicle, their energy is going to feel different. Like, I don't know, it's not going to feel like ego energy. I don't know how to explain it more than that, but you're going to know. And you have to be open to it. I think I said this a few other times, but if you are not open to it, and if you're a little bit skeptical, especially with channeling channeling sentient beings or beings that are of a high caliber, like they are an angel or ascended master or a god or a goddess, anything like that, they're not going to present themselves, because it's like now you have the wall up, you have the block, and even if they want to get through, you're not going to recognize them getting through. So you have to be really open to it. Something else I want to touch on, you can intend that you want to channel a certain being, but it might not always work, just because maybe they don't want to talk to you. I mean, and that's the truth. So for my personal example, when I just filmed a video about Ta, the Egyptian god Ta. I just filmed a video about him. I was not channeling him. Like, I felt the energy of him, like psychically I picked up on the energy, but I was not channeling him, which means that he was not giving me direct messages that I knew were coming from him. I picked up on his energy, I tapped into that, but it was not a channel session, because guess what? Maybe he just ain't want to talk to me, right? Whereas Sobek, who I wasn't even looking for, and I'll tell you what, like when you're channeling a deity and they come knocking for you, let me tell you, take that shit as a compliment, because the entities that present themselves to me, like, I'm like, damn, you want to talk to me? That's all right, you know. So sometimes if you intend to channel a particular deity or whoever, they just might not come through, because maybe they'll come through at a later point or something like that, you know. Like, I'm not saying they won't ever come through, but you're not going to force them to come through, you know what I'm saying? They don't even have bodies. They're 5D. They see you all the time in a way that you're not going to see them all the time, so you have to have respect for them. If they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you, that's it. So Sobek, who I wasn't even looking for really, you know, Sobek, as I said, someone sent me a video and then Sobek was there, and I was like, ooh, and something clicked, and it piqued my interest to look up who Sobek was. Boom, the next day he came through. So that, and he came through hard body channel. What's up, Sobek? So he came through hard body, but the key that indicated that he was going to be communing with me, because this happened a few times too. This happened with Archangel Azrael. I don't know if he's an archangel, but I just call him that. It's like before I started channeling him, the day before, it was like Azrael just came into my mind. Just like the day before I started channeling Sobek and he came through and made the connection, I saw that video, piqued my interest. I was like, Sobek, and I started looking into Sobek, like just, you know, brief synopsis, like who he was. I didn't like do extensive research, because for me personally, especially when I'm channeling, I don't really want to look up historical things unless I feel it's pertinent to the video to like give exact dates or something like that, because channeling, I want the information to just be coming directly from the source. I don't want to look up, you know, history books and shit, because, you know, history can be fucking fake. I mean, it was written, you know, does that mean it was necessarily true?
Only if it resonates with you.
So when Sobek came through, he essentially chose me, which I'm so flattered. You know, like he wanted to connect with me, because that was someone who I wasn't looking to. Whereas, like, let's say I had wanted to set up communication with Anubis, because I always resonated with Anubis, because he's like this with the scales, hard as light as a feather. But guess what? Anubis, you know, maybe he'll talk to me at some point, but right now it's like he's not, like there's nothing that I'm getting, right? So I can tap into the energy of Anubis or Ta or whoever, but when you're channeling, you're gonna know, because number one, the language, if it's like, you know, a clair cognizance type of thing, is not gonna be your own. It's gonna be very archaic. This is how I know that when Crowley was channeling Thoth, that shit was real, because that's really how they come through. These, you know, these higher dimensional beings, they tend to use archaic slang, if that makes sense, okay? Or they'll let you know something that you had no idea what the fuck it was, and then you'll look it up and you're like, whoa, it makes sense. That's how you know you're channeling. Okay, so have respect for especially the other beings that you don't want to bother a motherfucker if they don't want to talk to you. Whereas if they do want to come through, I would say you should be very, very flattered, okay? Because I mean, because they're looking at you and they're like, oh, I want to talk to them, right? Like that's a fucking special feeling. Always have respect for them. Also, I do want to touch on this when I channel others. they sometimes give me messages that I am not meant to share on here, and I know the difference. Like you'll just you'll feel the difference in the way that it's conveyed. And I don't mean feel in a way where it's like clairsentience, but it'll resonate in your body as a knowing, like as an ultimate, like, okay, this message is for me and just me, and this message is for the collective. So that's something else I want to touch on. If you're channeling a god, goddess, an ascended master, an archangel, an Aleister Crowley type of individual, you are not gonna give their secrets away. I'm just letting you know, you're not, because if they entrust you with a secret that is just for you, and it's not even that it's a secret, but just something that it's kind of like for your eyes only, do not break their trust. I'm gonna leave it at that. Don't do that. I have not done that, so this is not like a, oh, this will happen if you do. Like, no, it's not anything of that nature, but don't do it, okay? And you're not gonna probably want to do it either. So if they tell you a message that's meant just for you, do not share that with anyone. Just be flattered that this high vibrational being is letting you know this shit. Like they're letting you in on some top secret shit. You'll just know the difference, okay? A lot of with channeling, it is just knowing. And the last thing I think I want to say about this topic is that you can channel wherever the fuck you are. Me personally, I always have music on, or like a TV on, or a fucking iPad on, probably all of them at the same fucking time, right? 10 fans blowing on me and shit like that. That's just, remember, I have Mercury in the 3rd house, okay? So that's how I'm comfortable. I like that chatter in the background. It helps me focus more. So when I'm channeling, I can be really literally in the middle of nowhere doing nothing, or I could be in the middle of everything doing everything. So when I channel, I could seriously be in the middle of 10 million things, but it'll still come through. Claircognizance, boom. So be open to it and don't try to force it, because sometimes another thing I want to touch on also is that you can ask a question, and like I mentioned in the beginning, it might be answered in like a sign or a symbolism, but sometimes I'll ask questions and then it'll come later when I'm not looking for it as a channeled message. Like it'll be sort of like, as per your question, like boom, you know, maybe not exactly like that, but you know what I mean? Like I'll know that that was the answer to my question because it'll come through as a channeled, you know, thought. For me, it's mostly thought claircognizance, and channeling is, you can do it anywhere, but I would say the number one thing is be open to it, okay? I already mentioned different ways of how you can recognize what channeling is versus like ego mind or anything, but keep in mind that it's always going to progress for you. So if you're in a situation where right now, let's say you can only channel when it's like dead silence and you're sitting in lotus position, right? If that's the only way you channel right now, it's not limited to that. You can always improve, and you could always set intentions, right? And have respect for whoever the fuck you're channeling, the energy you're channeling, okay? Because they don't need to talk to you, quite frankly. Like, they don't need to talk to you. The fact that they're coming through to someone in a 3D vessel and they're interacting with you, take that shit as a compliment, okay? So always have respect for whoever the fuck you're channeling. And one last thing that I want to say in regards to channeling is that as you become more acquainted with especially the entities that you are channeling that have like a persona to them, you are going to be able to recognize them by the way that they feel. So first, for me, when I first get acquainted, they'll kind of introduce themselves and I'll get a vibe of them. I'll get a vibe of their energy and how they speak to me. But for you, it might be that they feel different, or it might be that you see different images or signs or symbols when you're dealing with this deity or whoever it is, or a certain deity might present a specific smell when they come through. So when you become acquainted with a deity or someone of that caliber, an ascended master, whoever it is, the first time that they present themselves to you, sort of like the introduction, you're going to pick up on how they are communicating with you. You are going to pick up their energy. So you're going to recognize them by just the way that their vibe is enmeshing with yours in that moment. So you're going to be able to recognize them. I will say that when they first come through and they first present themselves, the energy might feel a little higher just because it's like brand new energy that's coming through presenting itself to you. So it's sort of like meeting a new friend, right? It's like they're unfamiliar at first, so you really don't know how to behave around them. So that's the same thing energetically with these beings. It's like your energy is unsure how to behave around them. So that's why you can feel like a rush of energy just differently when a new being presents themselves to you. But once you get acclimated with them, you're gonna know immediately how you're gonna be dealing with them, like, because it's like you have like a friend, right? And you deal with your friend A like this, you deal with your friend Z like this. It's like not that you're being different towards them, but every dynamic of everyone you know, friend, relative, co-worker, lover, whoever the fuck, there's always going to be a slightly different dynamic, because they're who they are and you're who you are, and you're individuals and you're connected at the level that you're connected with the commonalities, but there's always going to be a difference when you're dealing with someone else's sentience. So it's the same thing. You will get acclimated and you will recognize the energy of the deity or the ascended master, whoever it is, and you'll know immediately when they come through, because it's just like you recognize the difference between your friend Bob and your friend Jane, right? Like, you know the difference between them. You know that they are both your friend, but the way that you have inside jokes or whatever with Bob is gonna be different the way you have inside jokes or whatever with Jane. It's the same thing for ethereal realm beings. When they first come through, it's gonna be kind of like, ooh, okay, like you're gonna get a feel of how you're going to interact with them. And then once you get that feel, you know, it might be a little bit of an energy rush the first time they come through. You might feel it more in your body, like you might feel your heart chakra opening just because you're connecting to them. You know, the heart is the bridge betwixt the ethers and the physical realm. That's why the heart chakra comes into play. So I mean, it can feel a little exhilarating at first, you know, just because you're getting acquainted with a brand new energy, but you're gonna see that all of these different energies are going to present themselves in their own unique way, that it's a part of you because you're all connected. That's how you're able to channel them, right? Because there's somewhere in there that's a similarity, because you are all connected. So wherever you meet them, that is your commonality. So for example, I might meet the planet Mercury in a different area, juncture point, than you meet the planet Mercury, right? If you're channeling Mercury, let's say, and so on and so forth. So your relationship with whoever ethereally is going to be different than however your friend, if they have an ethereal relationship with that being, it's going to be different, right? Because everyone is the same, everyone is all connected, but at the same time different. One is all is one. So you are going to be able to tell the difference when these energetic beings come through. You're going to be able to differentiate who's who. And you know, it might come through as a feeling, it might come through as a thought, a vision, however it works best for you. But you are going to notice that, like me, for example, when I channel astrological planets, it's claircognizance and clairsentience, because they want me to get the feeling of the planet or celestial body. But as I said, with the ascended masters and gods and goddesses, it's not so much about me feeling their energy, but the way that the message is delivered neutrally. So it's just going to be different like that. But you will recognize it, just like you recognize your friend Bob and your friend Jane, right? They're different, okay? But your commonalities is where you are going to link up with them. Same thing for channeling interdimensional beings. That's what I got for you today. I am Oculus, the alien next door. We will chit chat again soon.